I'd like to ask if everybody could please take their seats.
Scouting in 2020 are making clones. Scouting in 2020 is making new ones. Scouting in 2020 is camping. Scouting in 2020 is making campfires. Scouting 2020 is about learning something new. Scouting in 2020 is fun. Cooks out of 2020 is being nice. And Cubs out in 2020 is during belt loops. Scouting in 2020 is going on an adventure. And Cub Scouts in 2020 means virtual anything. Scouting in 2020 I can be a leader. Cub Scouting in 2020 is playing games. Cub Scouting in 2020 is having fun with my friends. Cub Scouts in 2020 is social distancing.
There's no one way to explore the world. My way is to push myself and never take the easy road.
I prefer a road that winds through forests and goes up mountains because I've always been an adventurer at heart. That's why I can't wait to be a scout.
Because scouting will guide me to great things. It won't just teach me to navigate the woods with confidence, but it'll give me the confidence to navigate the world.
I'll enter the scouts as the best version of myself today and will grow into the best version of myself for my future.
Scouting will show me how to use bravery, trustworthiness, loyalty, and kindness to become a person I'm proud to be.
Because there's no one way to explore the world, and my way is in the scouts. So
scout me in.
Let's go, guys. Get your stuff.
Don't forget your coffee. And I'll meet you there later with the food.
Sounds good.
Hey guys.
Hey, honey.
There's peanuts in there and the snacks are in that one. See you later.
Oh, don't forget your coffee.
You guys ready? about you?
Scout me in.
Let's go.
Oh, hello there. My name is Jada, and I'm a Cub Scout. I'm here to talk to you today about becoming a Cub Scout like me. Who here knows what Cub Scouts do? What's that? Well, since this is a video, I'm just going to tell you what they do. And let's see if you're right. Cub Scouts get badges for doing fun activities. And we make friends. Scouts go camping, climbing, fishing, and swimming together. We have fun. We play sports and go to parades. Scouts also help people and become the best versions of themselves. Scouts become future leaders. In fact, some Scouts even made history. Did you know that some of our former presidents, astronauts, award-winning scientists, and actors were Scouts when they were your age? Here's an example of something Cub Scouts get to do each year. Wait for it. These are skills to make rockets, and then we fly them. So, who wants to become a Cub Scout? Okay, this is still a video, so I'm going to need you to let me know a difference. If you want to join, visit B.S.A to find a pack near you. Get any questions answered, and sign up for Cub Scouts online. Make sure you have an adult to help you with that part, though. Hey, thanks for watching my video. I hope to see you again soon as a Cub Scout like me.
Good evening. Good evening, and we're going to talk a little bit while you finish your dinner. And for those now joining us via YouTube Live, welcome. Eagle Scout Cooper Dunn and I are pleased to open tonight's leadership dinner program, and thank you for joining us. The scouting programs of the Hawk Mountain Council prepare young people for their future. Scouting incorporates fun activities and hands-on activities that shape the character, citizenship, and physical fitness of all the young men and women who participate. As is evident with the many community and business leaders in this room who participated in scouting when they were young, scouting plays an important role for teaching our youth how to become our future leaders. I know of no other youth program that teaches leadership skills as well as scouting. These programs are made possible through your support of tonight's events. On behalf of the youth and leadership of the Hawk Mountain Council, we thank you for your continued generosity and support. Your support this evening helps us deliver our programs to over 5,000 youth members through the leadership of over 1,500 adult volunteers. Before I turn it over to Cooper for the opening ceremony, I want to publicly thank Mr. Joe Hartz for once again chairing our leadership dinner. This is Joe's third year as our dinner chair, a job which has been responsible for normal circumstances. Joe, can you just raise your hand? Thank you, Joe. With the upheaval caused by the pandemic, being the chair for this event has been even more challenging and stressful. Joe continues to do an outstanding job leading our team of volunteers to make this event a success. Thank you, Joe. In recognition of your leadership, we will be sending 3 youth to camp this summer with scholarships in your name. I would also like to recognize the UGI family of companies, UGI Energy Services and UGI Utilities, for being our presenting sponsor for the past 3 years. Thank you for your outstanding commitment to the youth of Scouting and the Hawk Mountain Council. I now ask Cooper to lead the opening ceremony.
Thank you, Mr. Euclid. Ladies and gentlemen, we have had an exciting year in Scouting. Tonight, in recognition of that, the representatives of our color guard and opening ceremony team represent the depth of our commitment to all of America's youth. Our representatives include members of the OA, Scouts B.S.A, and Cub Scouting. Each of these future leaders has a part to play this evening in presenting to all of you the amazing opportunities offered through Scouting. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the posting of our national colors. We would ask that you remain standing through the Scout Law. Scout attention. Advance the colors. Scout salute. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Scout sign. Scout oath. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty, to God and my country, to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. In Scout law, a Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. 2. Color Guard retreat. At ease. You may be seated.
Good evening, everyone, and please join me in thanking the Scouts for that wonderful ceremony that we went through. Tonight, these youth represented their fellow Scouts across the Hawk Mountain Council. Most every Scouting meeting begins with the same ceremony: the Pledge of Allegiance, the reciting of the Scout Oath and Law. So simple, and yet so powerful a message. For those that don't know me, I'm Joe Hartz. I'm president of UGI Energy Services and the chairman of the 46th Leadership Dinner. As you all know, it's been a challenging couple of years for all of us. And although this year has continued to be a challenge for our community, our families, and our scouting program, you should all leave here tonight knowing that Scouting has persevered. In a short while, Jim Milham, our CEO and Scout executive, will share more on the Scouting program. But first, I'd like to say thank you. The program offered by Hawk Mountain Council could not exist without all of you. So thank you to the individuals that come to this event and support it each and every year. This event doesn't happen without you. And this includes all of you that are joining us tonight through our online viewing event. Thank you to our corporate supporters who understand that the Scouting programs build our future employees and our community partners. The Scouting movement is truly blessed by your generous and continued support. I'm pleased to announce that thanks to our individual donors and our corporate sponsors, we have already received commitments of over $131,800 prior to the dinner tonight. And just for perspective, that's a little bit higher than last year. Later in our program, we will provide an opportunity for you to make your own commitment of support to Scouting if you haven't done so already. As the chair of this event, I have the pleasure of recognizing our lead sponsors for this year's dinner. With me tonight is Hans Bell. He's president of our UGI Utilities Group, and it's our pleasure to announce that the presenting sponsor is the UGI family of companies. We thank UGI for their commitment to the youth of our community, and through their presenting sponsorship, they help Hawk Mountain Council provide programs like STEM Scouting, Scout Reach programs that engage our inner city youth, in addition to the traditional Scouting programs like Cub Scouts and Scouts B.S.A. I'd also like to recognize the Evans Network of Companies, a longtime sponsor of this event, and who once again pledged this year as a Fleur de Lis Society sponsor. Please join me in thanking these two corporate sponsors. We will recognize the rest of our corporate sponsors later in the program. I now have the pleasure of introducing to you an outstanding young man. He's part of the Scouts B.S.A. program. I believe that you will find that he represents all the values of the Scout Oath and Law and the Scouting movement. He is James Maleka III, or Jay, as he is known by his family. Jay is an Eagle Scout with Troop 183 in Blandon and has been involved in scouting for the past 11 years. He began as a Cub Scout in New Jersey and continued here in Berks County. He's held various leadership positions with his troop, including patrol leader and the top youth leader in a troop, senior patrol leader. Jay is a vigil member of the Kinnatitty Lodge of the Order of the Arrow, which is Scouting's service society. He's also been involved in the National Youth Training Program as a participant and later serving 3 years on the staff. He's attended the National Youth Leadership Academy in Washington, D.C. To earn his Eagle Scout Award, Scout's highest rank, Jay created a pollinator garden and outdoor recreational space at the Andrew Mayer Elementary School in Blandon. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Jay Maleka.
All right, thank you. Good evening. I was asked here tonight to share what scouting means to me. It is my hope to illuminate what experiences I've had throughout my scouting career. For just a moment, though, I'd like to go into a little more depth on exactly what scouting is, not only to me, but to the other youth that participate in it. A general view of scouting might see it as a program that brings youth outside and teaches them new skills. While this is not incorrect, I see that as a serious understatement. Having spent about 11 years from Cub Scouts to Boy Scouts, I look back upon significant progress and preparation as a person. Scouting has encouraged me to challenge myself, and it has endeavored to teach me all manner of skills that will benefit me in later life. Through scouting, I've had the chance to make memories and develop as a person. When I first entered this incredible program, I was not especially notable from my peers. I was shy, but just as with every child and every youth, I had all kinds of potential. And now looking back upon my journey this far, I realize how great that the scouting program is at realizing and nourishing that potential to become something even greater. Before scouting, I had always enjoyed getting to be the leader. Back then, I saw this as sitting up top and bossing everyone else around. I'm sure all of us in this room know there's a little more to it than that. I first learned that lesson when I became leader of my patrol, a small unit in my troop, just a few scouts. And right off the bat, I realized that my fellow scouts didn't just want to listen to my orders. I realized that I needed to show them respect. I realized that I needed to show that my resolution was no less powerful than theirs. And I needed to show that any job I might ask of them, no matter how thankless, I was also willing to do myself. And so a few years later, I would embark on a leadership training course within our council, National Youth Leadership Training. A point I'll mention for anyone less familiar with the scouting program, scouting is youth-led. We make great efforts to keep it this way. A scout troop is led by its youth. Of course, we have those scoutmasters and the adult advisors to coach and supervise, but the best scout meetings are not run by the adults. They're run by the scouts. Those same scouts plan these meetings, and it's their duty to see them to fruition. Now back to the course I mentioned, National Youth Leadership Training is run like a local troop, with youth providing the leadership. Although adults are present and they help here and there at the scouts' request, the youth, they teach the course and they run the show. To an outsider looking in, that might sound like pandemonium, but I can guarantee you that this course is a masterpiece. In a week's time, through games, through presentations, through hikes, and even meals, we see these team exercises and individual efforts that build together into a leadership training puzzle. In this extraordinary experience, youth are given the chance to learn, to improve their leadership and their communication skills. Without this course, only available to me, of course, through Scouting, it's unlikely that I'd be standing here with the confidence and with the ability to speak in front of you all. But now, returning to my troop, I had ambitions. I wanted to be a leader. I wanted to use all those skills that I had learned to help my troop. Not stopping there, though, my entire personality shifted. I became a more social and a more responsible person. I would return 3 more years to staff National Youth Leadership Training, eventually serving as the course's youth leader. Additionally, I would attend a week-long course in Washington, D.C., National Youth Leadership Training Academy, and this would help me expand my skills and bring all kinds of new ideas back to course in order to improve it. With what I've expressed so far, I trust that you've had some insight into the leadership and the social skills that Scouting has taught me. Well, that's all well and good. There's another aspect of Scouting that I want to capture. That is the experiences. Looking back, I think all of us can pick points throughout our lives where we wish we did something. Maybe something that could have been big or different or important to us. But simultaneously, I'm sure we all have the opposite of that. We can look back on our lives and find those little moments, those things we did that were exuberant to have taken part in. I've always urged my friends, my peers, and anyone that'll listen to me to make Scouting one of those experiences they're glad to have done, and not one of the ones they missed out upon. And for any of those friends, those peers that listen to me, we've had a great time, and we've forged experiences that we'll never forget. And I'll share one of those with you. Back when I was 13, I had the opportunity to attend this national event known as the 2017 National Jamboree. 40,000 scouts from across the country came to West Virginia at Summit Bechtel Reserve, a colossal camp with everything a scout could dream of. For 10 days, we had this access to shooting sports, zip lines, biking, rafting, boating, patch trading, hiking, climbing, and anything else a scout could even think of. In these fantastic facilities, there were rock concerts and shows. We even had the president fly in and give us a speech. Now, if you hear me saying all of this and figure I might be exaggerating, I can promise you that I am telling the whole and exact truth. This was an experience that I look back upon and I know I will have and I will be able to cherish forever. It's amazing events like this that Scouting provides. Young men and young women are given the chance to get out of their house and to see the great outdoors, to make friends, and to make memories that they'll never forget. It doesn't even take so massive an experience as the National Jamboree. I could talk to you all until the sun comes up about the absolute plethora of fun times I've had with my troop, whether it be in summer camp or campouts, meetings, hikes, or any of those other experiences that Scouting offers. And so, for all of you who might not have taken part, I hope you've had a chance to see some of what Scouting is. Not only what Scouting is, but what Scouting should be. Every single scout, at the end of his or her journey, should be able to stand right here and excitedly reminisce on those wonders they experienced along the way. I earnestly profess this absolute adoration for this program and my belief in its benefits. For any of us less familiar with Scouting, I hope to have helped illustrate what it means to me and what it should mean to every scout. For any of us lucky enough to have taken part, I hope I've helped refresh some great memories from along the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Jay is shy. When I attended his court of honor, I said, whatever you decide to do, would you hire me when you're done? Because I'd love to come work for you. Jay is truly a great example of what Scouting, what we do and how we build our leaders. Jay, on behalf of the Hawk Mountain Council, I want to just give you a token of our appreciation for coming out tonight and sharing your Scouting story. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jim Milham. I'm the Scout Executive of the Hawk Mountain Council. Thank you for coming tonight. What a great night for Scouting. It is truly an honor and privilege to serve as your Scout Executive in this council and the communities that we serve. Last year continued to be a challenging year for everyone due to the pandemic. Hawk Mountain Council closely managed our operations to ensure our scouting program and mission was front and center to our youth, our leaders, and our community partners. The council adopted a business plan early in the pandemic to provide a specific roadmap for our fiscal stewardship, membership growth and retention, camp and program growth, our direct unit service, and marketing our programs. This plan enabled us to have a successful year as we continue to navigate and pivot during these challenging times. Here are just a few highlights, as Joe had mentioned earlier, and Jeff, that I would provide. We recruited 731 youth this past fall. We actually had more youth join online than in paper applications. That is a first for our council and a testament to our marketing campaign and social media. 1,800 youth leaders and staff attended a successful and safe summer camp at the Hawk Mountain Scout Reservation. We raised over $90,000 in 2 years in a virtual tent-in. We locked people in their tents till they got someone to bail them out. You're familiar with that model. And we helped secure a venture for a lot of scouts. We collected 135,000 pounds of food for our local food pantries and food bank. We ran a successful national youth leader training this past summer for 36 youth. You can see the product that Jay is, and where's my NYLT staff? You want to say hello to everyone? They're part of our staff coming up this summer. I'm proud to say our Scout Reach and STEM programs are back in the city again, and we're meeting at all the schools and in the areas. 800 scouts and leaders participated in our 50th anniversary of Hawk Mountain at the Schuylkill County Fairgrounds. It was a great event for the community and us. We welcomed the Citizenship and Society Merit Badge this past fall, and our council is developing our diversity, our equity and inclusion task force to help us develop our short and long-term goals. I'd like to just recognize Gail Lannis for chairing that committee. Gail, where are you? Thank you. A little off script, but I'm going to do this. This past year, we had a new council president join, Jeff Euclid, but we also saw a president who served the last 3 years of this council doing some real difficult times. And I'd like Jerry Blecker to stand up, please. Jerry, where are you? And a round of applause for Jerry and his 3 years of tenure. As you can see, our council continued to thrive even during the most difficult times our country has seen. Leadership development is the core mission of scouting, and our scouts use it as they advance up the trail. That trail continually gets harder and more challenging. Along the way, scouts learn important skills like tying knots, learning lashings, tree and poisonous plant identification, and first aid skills. Scouts never know when they may need to use those skills, those important skills. Eagle Scout Gage Becerra is a member of Troop 595 from Birdsboro. August 24, 2021 was Gage's first day of high school. When Gage arrived home that afternoon from school, his grandfather, Dick Swavely, or Pop, was heading outside to cut the grass. 30 minutes later, Sandy Swavely, Gage's grandmother, or Nan, and their son Joe heard a lot of commotion by the garage. Dick had struck a rock and flipped the tractor. This is an older tractor, so the blades actually did not stop when it flipped. When it came back down, it severed Dick's arm, and there was a lot of blood. A good Samaritan had stopped because he saw what had happened, but they could not stop the bleeding. By that time, Gage had heard what was going on and ran towards the garage. Dick had yelled for Gage, and by the time Gage arrived, he had had his scout belt almost off. Gage quickly assessed the situation, put his belt around his grandfather's right shoulder under his armpit. He actually had to stand on his grandfather's shoulder to stop the bleeding. The ambulance soon arrived, and Dick went to the hospital. Dr. Amir Bayham from the Tower Health wrote a letter regarding Gage's actions. He said, if it was not for his grandson, without question, Mr. Swavely would have died. Gage's quick and expert thinking and action to use his Boy Scout belt as a tourniquet frankly saved his grandfather's life. He goes on to say, Gage is a true role model for not only his fellow scouts, but for all of us. It is not a coincidence that he's also an Eagle Scout. I also need to mention that Gage used the Heimlich maneuver to save his grandfather earlier this year. Lastly, I want to share something that Sandy Swavely wrote. A few days after this, they were in the doctor came into the room and handed her a plastic bag with Gage's scout belt. I explained who Gage was. He's our son by adoption and grandson, that he had just become an Eagle Scout. The doctor told me to tell him that he should think about the life he saved every time he puts on that belt. Sandy said this is now the only belt Gage wears. Gage has been awarded the Medal of Merit from the National Boy Scouts of America for a meritorious award, which is given a youth member when there's evidence shown by the National Court of Honor in accordance with our prescribed regulations shows that a significant, outstanding act of service and exceptional character and heroism was performed. That action taken must put into practice the scout skills and ideals. It is now my honor to ask Gage, Richard, and Sandy to come forward to the stage. I'm making Sandy cry again. I'm sorry. On behalf of the Hawk Mountain Council Boy Scouts of America, it gives me great pleasure in presenting Gage this certificate of accomplishment. I actually attended a ceremony at his church this past Sunday, and I just want to say what a remarkable young man he is and a true testament of scouting skills and saving his grandfather's life. So a round of applause again for Gage. It's always great to be able to see a scout use his scout skills. It is now my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Alvin Townley. Alvin is a best-selling author who has the opportunity to discuss leadership with leaders like Michael Bloomberg, J.W. Marriott Jr., Ross Perot, Cabinet Secretaries Robert Gates and Hank Paulson, Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer, Admirals Bill Gortney and Tom Kilkline, as well as Jim Lovell of Apollo 13. An Eagle Scout from Troop 103 Atlanta, Georgia, Alvin followed the scouting path of his grandfather and father. Alvin has received the Vigil Honor of the Order of the Arrow and has completed what we call the B.S.A.'s Triple Crown, attending high adventure treks for the Florida Sea Base, the Northern Tier Canoe Bases, and Philmont Scout Ranch. Alvin has had the opportunity to travel around the world 3 times and also landed on 3 aircraft carriers in 3 different oceans. Alvin's books include Legacy of Honor, Spirit of Adventure, Fly Navy, Captured, and Defiant. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Eagle Scout Alvin Townley.
Oh my goodness, good evening, Pennsylvania. How are you guys doing? It was warm up here today. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and I thought I was going to be freezing like winter camp at scouting, but I wasn't. It was very nice, so thank you for the weather. Gage. My very first book was about Eagle Scouts. Legacy of Honor over there, and Jim's going to make sure you get one of those because, you know, if I'd written it later, I would have put you in it. What a great story, so thank you for doing that. I'm also looking at Gage's merit badge sash here. It looks a little more full than mine did. How many merit badges do you have there, Gage? 43. So if you know anything about scouting, you know that the minimum for Eagle is 21. Anybody want to guess how many I got? Thank you. So I'm curious, apparently this NYLT table back here, did anybody get over 50? Anybody with over 50 merit badges in here? All right, overachiever. How many did you get? 83. Bad. That's four times what I got. So it is kind of funny. I ended up writing the books on scouting, so it wasn't a very good one. So the other thing I did that was not particularly spectacular was earn Eagle in a rather slow fashion. I started out in scouting very quickly. I had a father and grandfather that had been involved, so they were excited about me being in there, and I plowed right through Scout and Tenderfoot and second class and first class and Star and Life. I think I was Life when I was maybe 14. I was Life when I was 15. I was Life when I was 16. And I was Life almost my entire 17th year, and I got Eagle right before I turned 18. 2 months before I turned 18. So Jim has another free book for anybody that cut it closer than I did. Did anybody cut it closer than 2 months? Yes? We got one. All right. Go see Jim after the show. You know, I was 18 when my mother finally pinned the actual medal on my uniform. And I went home that night in April and hung up my uniform. It's probably still hanging in the same spot in my parents' closet as it was back then because I kind of forgot about scouting. I moved on. I went to college, not too far south of here in Virginia, and had adventures. I worked on Capitol Hill, worked for a big international firm doing strategy consulting, and traveled around the world and just having a great time in life. And scouting wasn't really part of my life. You know, I didn't stand around with my friends and say the Scout Oath and the Scout Law like we did tonight. And Cooper, that was a great job. You did leading us through that. Can I get an amen for how valuable it is to stand and just say those words with your friends? I feel like I'm back in Georgia. You know, and so scouting wasn't part of my life, and I went on, but at some point, a couple things happened, and I began to wonder, what does it all mean? You know, if you're in scouting, you hear people that are 30 years old, 60 years old, 90 years old, tell you how amazing scouting is, and how important it is to be an Eagle Scout, but I really didn't know why it was that important. You know, were these guys really telling me the truth? Did scouting really mean that much to me? And beyond me, you know, what did scouting really meant to our country? So I left a great job, and the last thing your parents want to hear after you've gone through college and gotten a great job is that you're going to leave the great job to go write a book. Yeah, I don't really recommend that, and Dad made it very clear there were no free meals at home, but he wished me luck, and so I set out around the country to find out what it meant to be an Eagle Scout. And as Jim mentioned, I got to meet some incredible people who opened up their doors and their lives to me and shared, you know, what it meant to them to be an Eagle Scout. And you know, whether it was, you know, Bill Gates Sr. or J.W. Marriott or Secretary Gates or Paulson, or whether it was a counselor at Seabase or a ranger at Philmont or a scoutmaster from, you know, Union, South Carolina that no one knew about outside his town except for the 125 Eagle Scouts he'd produced. You know, I found that scouting had really had an extraordinary impact on America. And I want to share with you one of the stories that ended up leading to a future book. Because as you learn in life, you know, one thing always leads to the next. And this is a story that you can find in Legacy of Honor. You also can find it in Defiant, which is my first New York Times review, my first really big book. So that was a lot of fun to be able to take this story of George Coker from Legacy of Honor onto Defiant. Now, the Vietnam War happened a long time ago, but George Coker was an Eagle Scout from New Jersey. He was a state wrestling champion in New Jersey, and he was 5'5", and he was the meanest 5'5" of Eagle Scout you've ever seen or ever want to see. But he was a great scout. He got through scouting, went and joined the Navy, became an aviator, and had just turned 23 years old. 3 days before he was on a mission over North Vietnam. Vietnam was divided into two parts at that point. And if you're a naval aviator, by the way, you think nothing is going to shoot you out of the sky. You are the best pilot. One person, you are the best pilot in the entire world as far as you're concerned. And if you know a naval aviator, you know that's true. You're not going to get shot down. Certainly not by someone in a little country using antiquated Soviet artillery like North Vietnam. Well, George Coker does get shot down. He has to bail out. And that's the last thing he wants to do is bail out, because it means he's lost, because he's competitive. But he pops out at pretty low altitude, and he's on the ground in probably about 15 seconds after he pulls out. And does anyone know the worst place to parachute into might be? North Vietnam's a bad one, particularly the part of North Vietnam that you just bombed. So nobody wants to see you there, right? And so he lands there, and immediately folks come out, they grab him, they strip everything off of him, they take his parachute harness, they take his service revolver, they take his uniform, they take everything on him, and he's there in a field in North Vietnam, muddy, getting beaten, and he has lost everything he has except his honor and his will to survive. So he goes to a place called the Hanoi Hilton. It's famous, not a hotel, it's a prison in Hanoi. And if you've been there, I've been there twice, and if you've been there, it's a pretty scary place to have to consider living for some indeterminate amount of time, which was what he was faced with. He had no idea when he was going to get home. Well, the North Vietnamese wanted him to sign some propaganda papers. They wanted him to sign a statement saying that he was a criminal and that the United States was evil and that America should get out of North Vietnam. Well, he lost everything he had except the ability to control what came out of his mouth or what he wrote, and he still had his honor, so he was not going to give up his honor, so he refused to sign the statement. So the North Vietnamese said, okay, we can do this the hard way. You can stand on this wall with your hands over your head until you sign the confession. So they figured he'd last, maybe half a day, because, NYLT folks back there, if you want to put up your hands, it gets tiring after a while, right? So he did it the whole first day. He got off the wall at 6 o'clock, got up on the wall again the next morning at 6 a.m., kept his hands up all day the next day. This went on all week. He would not sign that paper. He would not sign something saying that he was a criminal, because he wasn't. And he was an Eagle Scout, and he wasn't going to sign something like that. And so this went on for a week. It went on for a month. And to survive these days, he would have to take himself out of that situation. He'd have to remember poems. He'd go through his class yearbooks and remember names and faces. He'd recite prayers, anything he could do to take his mind outside that ridiculously awful reality of having to stand on this wall in Hanoi, North Vietnam, with his hands over his head all day. So this started in late October, and it went on through most of December. And by the end of December, towards the end of December, he couldn't remember any more prayers. He couldn't remember his parents' name. He couldn't remember anyone in his classes to think about. He could only stand on that wall and say to himself the one thing he could still remember, which was, on my honor, I will do my best. I'm not going to sign that confession. He could only remember the first line of the Scout Oath. That's all he could remember. His mind was so degraded. But there, in the darkest moment he could imagine, he fell back on scouting. And to me, that just showed how deeply those words that Cooper mentioned, those words that we all repeated, how deeply those get ingrained in who we are when we're scouts. Because no one ever says, I was a scout, right? You are a scout. It's a lifetime sentence. And it's extremely, extremely important. And I've been all around this world meeting scouts. We've been in Africa. I've been at Baden-Powell's gravesite past curfew in Kenya, hiding under blankets so the Kenyan security police wouldn't throw me out of the country. I've been on aircraft carriers. I've been at the top of mountain peaks. I've been everywhere with Eagle Scouts and have seen again and again and again what scouting means and what people do with the experience they have in scouting and how they serve other people. And more recently, I was thinking about this really as I came up here because I haven't been talking about scouting quite as much. I have other books that have come out, and I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old at home, which is another reason I was really happy to come up here. So thank you for having me. Nobody called me tonight. I'm sleeping in. But I've come back to this realization that I think scouting is particularly valuable today, just as it's always been, but particularly today, because it's real. There's so many things that we do that aren't real today, that are virtual, that maybe don't mean anything, that really aren't experiences we're having with other people. But scouting, to me, I think to the people with whom I've met, and I hope to you, has helped you have real friendships. Yes, these aren't online friendships or friendships with people that chances are you might not be exactly alike. You know, one of the greatest things that happened in Troop 103 is that I was friends with people I never would have been friends with just at high school. So I had a great group of friends that made my life a lot richer. And I think for adults, I think people forget how valuable scouting can be for adults. You know, my brother-in-law had some trouble, and his son got into scouting because he was the right age, but Robert got into scouting because I think deep down he knew he needed that. And he had an extraordinary group of friends out of that supported him and changed his life. And scouting is about real experiences too. You know, Cooper and I were talking about scouting and being at Philmont. You know, Philmont's about as real as it gets, particularly if you're an adult trying to keep up with kids like Cooper who wake up at 7 a.m. and hightail it to the next camp at breakneck pace for no good reason. You know, but that's a real experience. You know, you're there with your dad was there with you, right? You know, he's there with his dad and getting to have that experience with your father, with your friends, be out on your own, having to cook, getting dirty. Those are real things. They teach you real lessons. And finally, scouting has real impact. And that's why we're here tonight. Because we know that there's not a better investment we can make. There's not a more impactful investment we can make than an investment in scouting. Those investments return far more than we're going to get anywhere else. Particularly in the stock market right now. Let's just be honest, it's not going that great. So there's no reason not to give generously to scouting because you're investing in the future. And so I can tell you from all my experiences, my own experiences and those of others, scouting is America's future. This movement is more important to the future of the United States of America than any other movement that I'm aware of. And it just makes me so warm and excited to see so many people here in Reading, Pennsylvania. I'm pronouncing that correctly. Reading, Pennsylvania, to support scouting, to support young people like Gage and Cooper and Jay, and I am thrilled to be part of this evening. I appreciate y'all coming out, and I hope you give generously. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alvin. We greatly appreciate the message that you provided us tonight, and as a thank you for being part of our event, please accept this small token of our appreciation.
Thank you, everybody.
Tonight's annual leadership dinner is the culmination of a huge community event that supports the vital programs provided by the Hawk Mountain Council. These programs help to mold and shape our nation's most valuable resources, our young men and women. Many businesses, professional associations, and community organizations from Berks and Schuylkill counties are represented here tonight and online. I'd like to thank each of you for attending tonight's celebration of Hawk Mountain Council and the Boy Scouts of America. Each one of us should feel proud to know that by investing in scouting, we are playing a major role in preparing our youth and our community and our nation for an ever bright future. The generosity and giving spirit of our community is truly remarkable. And one thing remains true: the Scouts need you and your continued support. Over 30 volunteers worked long hours to make this night a success. I'd like to ask all of our volunteer table hosts and captains to stand at this time and be recognized for a job well done. Thank you. And special thanks to Dwayne Krause and Ann Bruger for all the work that they've put into this dinner. And please join me in thanking the DoubleTree staff for a delicious meal and a job well done tonight. Each of you has a Prepare of Scout for Life pledge card at your table, and if you are online, you will find a link to this in the video description and comments. On your pledge card, you have the option of selecting $300 to support one Scout for an entire year, $150 will support a Scout for half a year, and $75 will cover a quarter of the fee, or any other amount that you're able to give. Any amount will make a big difference in the life of a young person this year. Please take time now to complete your pledge card and provide it to your table host if you haven't done so already. If you would like to complete your Prepare a Scout for Life pledge online, we have text to give information on the screen for your use. And if you haven't filled out a table card, please do so before you leave tonight. Our goal is to raise an additional $10,000 at this dinner so we can ensure that every youth in Berks and Schuylkill County gets to participate in scouting with that opportunity. I'd like to now acknowledge the generous support of all of our corporate and individual sponsors whose contributions drive the success of this dinner and provided a large portion of the funding for this event. Our sponsors include the UGI family of companies, including UGI Energy Services and UGI Utilities. Our Fleur de Lis Society sponsor is the Evans Network of Companies. Our Eagle Scout Society sponsors, Entech Engineering and First Energy Corporation and the First Energy Foundation. Our Life Scout Society sponsors, Connors Investor Services, East Penn Manufacturing, Enersys, Joe Jergelowicz and Son, M&T Bank, RSM US LLP, next are our Star Scout Society sponsors, Jerry Blecker, BDO, Custom Milling and Consulting, Deloitte, Diamond Credit Union, Esterbrook Pharmacy, Fraser Advanced Information Systems, Fulton Bank, King's Management and Development Company, Kozloff Stout, KPMG, Andy and June Mayer, Jim and Margie Milham, R.M. Palmer Company, Reading Baseball, Redner's Markets, Thompson Electric, Tompkins Vist Bank, Walski Investment Management Incorporated, Wyke Capital Management, and White Star Tours. Please join me in thanking all of our sponsors. And finally, this dinner would not be successful without our individual supporters. Thank you to all of you. Your continued commitments to Scouting have improved the lives of thousands of youth over the years. It's now time to end our time together. To our online viewers, we appreciate you joining us in a different way again this year, and we anticipate that some people will continue this trend for our leadership dinner as we move forward. Thank you again to our table hosts for an outstanding job in this challenging time. And thank you to our continued and loyal supporters of Scouting. On your tables and in the comments section of the YouTube Live, you will find a link or a QR code for a survey. Please take a few minutes and provide us feedback on tonight's event. Each comment received is reviewed with the effort of improving the program. And with that, I will say thank you for joining us, drive safely, and good night.